What's up, Niner fans? Training camp day one for the 49ers has officially wrapped up, and I'm just going to give you some of the quick takeaways coming from day one of training camp. Let's go. Now that training camp is here, guys, means we're another day closer to week one of the 49ers season, the greatest time of the year, arguably almost better than Christmas season, everybody. This is like my Christmas in July right here. Let's just get into it really quick. Training camp, day one. I got all my information from Matt Barrow, so I highly recommend him, one of the 49ers beat writers. I got all of this off of his Athletic article about the 49ers day one at training camp. And let's start off with the players that were present in training camp that missed either OTAs or mini camp and everything like that. Starting off with Alfred Collins, defensive tackle rookie. He missed the springtime with a calf injury. And one of the biggest takeaways I have from him was seeing a video posted by the 49ers in 95.7 The Game or whatever. But the man is massive. I was just seeing him line up and everything. He's 6'5", 332 pounds, and I think he's going to be just someone crazy to deal with. I wouldn't want to be on the other side of that ball. I wouldn't want to be one of those offensive linemen out there. And I think he's just going to be a huge addition to the team. Obviously, just day one, not a lot of takeaways you could get from like defensive line, offensive line. This is mainly just that he was present in practice for the first time due to his calf injury, and he lined up with the second team mostly in the 3-tech spot, which Javon Hargrave played in, according to Matt Barrows. So it'll be interesting there for that. And then defensive end Michael Williams was also present, the 49ers first round draft pick, and he had a hamstring strain in the springtime OTAs kind of season. And he mostly played defensive end on the first team with Nick Bosa, and he played defensive tackle on obvious passing downs, according to Matt Barrows as well. And I'm going to get into what Nick Bosa said a little bit about Collins and Williams later on after the practices that they had. And then another guy back on the practice field, safety Jair Brown. If you guys don't remember, he had an ankle surgery that he did during, I believe, OTAs or minicamp. So it looks like his ankle's all cleaned up now, and he's ready to go for practice, which is great news for the 49ers. And he also played the first team defense with Jason Pinnock, another 49ers signing for the year. And I'm going to talk about what Jason Pinnock did just a little bit in the first day of training camp. And then also safety Marquez Siegel was also present for the 49ers, and he paired up with Richie Grant, another 49ers new addition on the second team for the defense. Now, the second biggest takeaway of training camp day one, and I think arguably, I guess you put it out there for the first. We kind of knew who was going to be out there already, but Jauan Jennings, he said he wasn't going to hold out. He wasn't going to hold in. He was going to be practicing, and he was there on the practice field despite the contract negotiations that are ongoing. And according to some of his teammates, according to Kyle Shanahan, he was in high spirits. He seemed like Jauan Jennings, which the guy we all know, the player we all love. High energy and everything. And he caught 3 passes on the day from Brock Purdy. And same with Demarcus Robinson, who also caught 3 passes on the day. So not a lot of news for Jauan Jennings. Obviously, not a lot of news total for the 49ers. It's the first day, no pads or anything. But it's just great to see players out here, players practicing, especially Jauan Jennings. Matt Barrows was talking about, it's not like any kind of drama, no hold-in like Brandon Ayuk or anything. And then obviously the situations for Brandon Ayuk and Jauan Jennings were completely different, where Ayuk wanted to be paid one of the highest paid wide receivers in the league, big multi-year deal. Well, Jauan Jennings is a different player. He's not as high profile as Ayuk. So I think the way they go about things is obviously different. And Jennings, I talked about it the last episode. Jennings, where the 49ers had the leverage, where if he was not going to be present, he was going to get fined $50,000 a day. So I don't think Jauan Jennings has that kind of money that he wants to just to be so loosey-goosey about. So obviously he was there, and it's just another testament to who Jauan is. And he's a baller. He's a football player, and he wants to be out there with the boys and get better. And I think they're asking Shanahan about Jauan Jennings in the press conference post practice, like, hey, does like Jennings being out here for practice change like the dynamic of how contract negotiations go? He didn't really, deny it or like say yes to all of that. But obviously, I think it does kind of show a testament to Jauan. And I think John Lynch talked about it too. Jennings is a guy that you want on your team because of just the physicality that he brings and the positivity and just the playmaking ability that he's brought, last year, and the things that he's going to be potentially be able to do this year. So Jauan Jennings back at practice, fantastic news. Great to see they had caught 3 passes on the day, and I wish I was able to give you guys content from training camp. Unfortunately, wasn't able to go this year, and I missed out on the tickets. I guess they sold out in like 15 minutes, which is just nuts. So if you're there, and if you guys see this video and want to send me some videos, of practices and everything, I'll give you guys credit. That'd be fantastic if I get my own. If I put that on my First and 49ers Instagram. So now we'll get into a little bit of some of the highlights and surprises coming out of training camp day 1. So one of the biggest highlights of the day, according to Matt Barrows, there was a corner route thrown from Purdy, intended for Kittle, and it was caught for a long gain. And Kittle was wide open. He talked about it a little bit in his presser at the end of the game, which you can find on YouTube, the 49ers YouTube. I think not Purdy talked today. It was Kittle, and I think Bosa talked today on it, and then Shanahan talked as well. And Kittle had a big wide open catch where Deommodore Lenoir dropped in coverage, so Kittle was wide open. So Kittle was kind of happy about that. Said he was chirping Demo a little bit because of it. And then Jason Pinnock, another highlight of the day, he intercepted a deflected pass from Brock Purdy, and that's what I was getting back to earlier when he was paired with Jair Brown. So great to see so far. It looks like Jason Pinnock playing on the first team for the 49ers secondary is looking like he potentially is going to be a starter for the 49ers early on in training camp. We'll see how he continues to progress throughout training camp, but it's a great sign, obviously, already. It was a deflected pass, and he made the interception, so great news there. One of the biggest surprises of training camp day 1 is just D. Winters, and Shanahan talked about it before, but he was saying how D. Winters has been one of the most improved, one of the best players that has been out on the field since the springtime, since OTAs, and he's continuing to turn heads as the fastest linebacker on this team. And obviously, he's going to be battling for a starting spot to play side by side with Fred Warner, and he's battling between rookie Nick Martin, who's looked fantastic according to other coaches during the springtime, and obviously just during OTAs, but he's learning a lot, and so they're going to be battling out for a starting job. So that's something that before the season we're going to have to be looking out big time for, the Nick Martin and D. Winters linebacker position battle. So that'll be a great one. But according to Shanahan, he said he's been looking great so far, and he looked good in practice today as well. And then another surprise that the 49ers had was 49ers rookie Upton Stout, who's projected to be the nickel cornerback for the 49ers this year. And I think he's going to be battling it out with 3 other cornerbacks on the 49ers team. But he took some starting reps at the nickel position, and he nearly intercepted Mac Jones, according to Matt Barrows. And Shanahan also said in the presser that it would have been a pick 6, but it turned in actually into a catch for Russell Gage, so he didn't make the interception. He just timed it a little bit too soon, I think, is what Shanahan was saying in his presser. So I think he was saying early on, though, I mean, obviously it's a big deal when a rookie's having first team reps. So Upton Stout was another big name that you're going to be looking out for on the defense this year for training camp, nearly intercepting Mac Jones. It'll be really interesting to see if he's going to be able to start at the nickel position, because he's 5'8". I mean, I think his build kind of reminds me of K'Wan Williams. I haven't seen so much of his game style and everything, but that's definitely something to look out for the continuous days for training camp. And then I believe this is the last surprise for the 49ers so far in training camp day 1 was Jake Moody versus Greg Joseph. And this is a kicker competition. And this is something that a special teams coach, Brant Boyer, was changing a little bit. I think during OTAs or something, Joseph and Moody would kick on different days, but today he had a full-on competition where they were going back and forth on reps. And a big surprise here, they both went 4 for 4. So they were 8 and 8 throughout the entire day between the two of them, which is great news. Obviously competition is one of the best things about any sports in general, and I think that's something that's really going to push Jake Moody to try to potentially make this team. So far he's been a 3rd round bust for the 49ers, hasn't panned out to what the 49ers obviously hoped he would be, the big boot Jake Moody. So it'll be definitely interesting, and that's one of the biggest things as well that the 49ers are going to be looking into throughout training camp. And Shanahan said that he's pleased with the competition so far. Obviously, first day of camp, both going 4 for 4, something that is good to see. And then Nick Bosa also had something to say about the kicker competition. I get so used to talking about quarterback competition, just thinking about Jimmy G and Trey Lance and, all those years of 49er quarterback controversy. It's kind of nice, on a side note, not to have any controversy there. And we just have Brock Purdy, and we know he's the guy, and he's paid and everything. But anyway, Nick Bosa, they asked him about the kicker comp, and he actually said, quote, "I actually am paying attention," unquote. So Nick Bosa is kind of excited to see how that pans out a little bit. I'm sure all the 49ers are kind of looking in a little bit, obviously, because they know how it went last year. If you guys remember, too, Debo all up in Jake Moody's face after missing a field goal. I think that was the Buccaneers game or something like that. So, I mean, definitely invested in that because special teams and kicking last year was just atrocious. So those are the biggest surprises and highlights of the 49ers training camp that I took away so far from Matt Barrow's article. Once again, if you don't have The Athletic, I recommend getting it. It is a paid subscription, but you got Matt Barrows on there, got a lot of great writers on there and everything, David Lombardi and stuff like that. He actually just moved to the San Francisco Standard. But anyway, other takeaways that I got from the 49ers training camp, just from seeing a couple of YouTube or Instagram videos and YouTube videos, was Christian McCaffrey practicing, and he was looking healthy. He was looking, it doesn't look like he's lost a step. And that was like one of the funny things that 49ers Twitter was going back and forth. They're like, how can you even tell he's like fully healthy and up to speed and everything? Like his legs looking good from OTAs and whatnot. But I mean, he's working with Brock Purdy. First day back for training camp. The guy looks good. He looks healthy. We'll see what happens when pads go on. And that's what Shanahan kind of says in his presser as well. Like, it's not real football yet. That's what Kittle was saying too, until the pads are on. And that's when the real football competition starts going in. And that's when we're going to really see what Christian McCaffrey looks like when he's starting to get contacted and everything. A couple other takeaways, though, that Matt Barrows had was, if you guys saw on my Instagram, Ben Bartch, he was actually not participating at the beginning, fully participating in training camp so far because of a quad injury that he suffered on his own time, but he was working on the side. And then also Ricky P. Ricky P was doing sprints on the side, and he was also put on the it was the PUP list. He hasn't been activated yet, but according to Shanahan as well, is that Ricky, they're just taking little precautions for him, but he's basically almost full speed. Shanahan was saying if like the rules were different for training camp, like how they were a couple years ago, he'd expect him to be practicing today, which is fantastic. And he expects Pearsall to be ready to go by Sunday. These next 3 days, they're just getting his conditioning going a little bit. So I saw a couple of videos of him. He looked great. He looked like he was almost full speed and everything on the sidelines. So that's something fantastic to see when just what we've been seeing with the wide receiver group having to sign St. Brown. With so many injuries on the wide receiver side of things. Barrows also said that it doesn't look like they'll be out for long, talking about Ricky P and Ben Bartch. So I think Ben Bartch is expected to be back pretty soon. Again, probably just taking more precautionary steps, getting back into the swing of things. You don't want to be out too long in the start of training camp. So obviously don't want anything to progress throughout the camp and everything. And then just a little first day impressions that Kyle Shanahan had in his presser. Talking about DeMarcus Robinson, he said he's going to be counting on him a lot to contribute this year for the 49ers and this team. He said obviously regarding just the suspension that the league is going to give him eventually, all depending on that. But Shanahan just gave him a little bit of praise, saying he's a big guy, he's got good hands, and he did damage against the 49ers last year. So he's excited to have Robinson on the team and see what he can do, obviously. I think he had a catch or two as well. Oh, he had three catches as well with Jauan Jennings, like I said earlier. So yeah, Shanahan also said that they have a new field, if you guys didn't know, as well, for training, for the training camp outside. They have 2 vertical fields now, and I think one of them is like 120 yards. The other one is just shy, is what Matt Barrows was saying, of 100 yards. So it's a work in progress. He said, just regarding the camp and the camp flow and everything. Just this is a little snippet of what Shanahan was saying about just how practice is going to go and how they're going to like rotate people on the field. It's going to take like 3 days, see how it goes, and then if they have to switch things up, they will. But that's just a great thing. The 49ers continuing to upgrade their facilities and everything, because before I think they only had I don't even know if they had a 100-yard field. They had like a 60-yarder and stuff like that, but it looks like the fields look really nice, and he was kind of excited too. Shanahan was saying about they have a goalpost that's a stationary one, grounded in one now, so I guess that's better and everything too. But I mean, good things to see. Just things what Shanahan was saying. Also, Monday's the first day of pads, so I believe that's what he said. Yeah, Monday's going to be the first day of pads. So starting next week, we'll see some real football practice highlights coming into it. And then one of the biggest things as well is what Shanahan said, and this is some news that came out earlier today, is Jacob Cowing, another wide receiver that has an injury, and he pulled his hamstring. I think Shanahan was saying yesterday running routes. But he also gave Cowing some praise, saying that he was one of the best receivers in OTAs. So great to hear, and he kind of expects Cowing to break out a little bit going into the season. And now just it kind of sucks. This hamstring injury is going to take him back a little bit, but hopefully Cowing's not going to be out for too long because we want to see him. And as you know, as he's out, next man up, we'll see maybe Jordan Watkins taking some of his reps, see how he does. And it's going to be a battle for who's going to be on the depth chart for wide receiver this year. Without Debo, without Ayuk for most of the year. Hopefully Ricky P, he's going to stay healthy throughout the season, throughout training camp and everything. Now we've got another setback of Jacob Cowing. And then hopefully, obviously, Jauan Jennings, we get to see him get a contract going pretty soon. So it looks like, haven't heard anything new about Jennings and everything, so I don't think there's any talks about actually trading him and stuff coming soon or anything like that. They're asking him a little bit about Brock Purdy. They're saying, how do you evaluate Brock Purdy from the first day he got here to how he's looking today? And obviously, Kyle Shanahan's like, I don't really look at players like throughout their entire career, write a book about it yet, obviously. But he said, quote, he's going to do as much as he can to get better, and that's why I love Brock. So just talking about how much of a work ethic Brock Purdy has and just the leader he has, and he's never satisfied, which is one of the best attributes about Purdy. And Shanahan just said that's like the biggest takeaway evaluating Brock Purdy. So something great to hear as well. And then one of the last things Shanahan said, this is also regarding Ricky P. He wanted to make sure, this is kind of what I said already, but I just had in my notes, wanted to make sure his conditioning was right. So if Ricky P, if he could have been, practicing today if he really wanted to, but they're just taking little precautionary steps. And he said he'd be surprised if he wasn't out there on Sunday. So we can expect Ricky P out there on Sunday as well. And then a couple of thoughts that Nick Bosa had in his press conference at the end of today's practice, a little bit about Michael Williams and Alfred Collins. He said that they both have immense talent. I think they're going to be, he's kind of excited about this offensive line. He's kind of the old head now. He's the Bosa is on the offense, or on the defensive line. And he's talking about leadership and everything. He said, quote, I definitely need to take a leadership role, unquote, with so much young players on the defense. So I think we could especially see Nick Bosa is not obviously a vocal leader, and he was kind of explaining that as well, but he definitely says that he's been giving people some constructive criticism and everything, and he became more vocal last year when there's so many changing parts at the end of the season and everything. Obviously the defense wasn't playing to their standards, so it'll be great. We get to see Captain Bosa coming out this year, hopefully a little bit. He said he's not the biggest guy. He's not going to be giving a whole bunch of speeches or anything, but it'll be different. He's a veteran. With this young offensive line, it'll be great to see how he's able to develop Michael Williams and Alfred Collins a little bit there. And just talking about Robert Saleh, he said that he had Saleh in the meetings and everything. He's had a commanding presence, and so that's one of the biggest things that he's loved about having Saleh back. Obviously Saleh, great coach and everything, and he said that it's what the 49ers need. It's what the defense needed, is this commanding presence back. And I think it's something that it was lacking last year with Nick Sorensen. Sorensen is just an odd character almost to be a defensive coordinator. I think obviously something completely different that the 49ers have had the past seasons. Obviously having Robert Saleh, who's a big energy guy, and then with D'Amico Ryans as well. Even Steve Wilkes, it's just different energy that they had last year compared to the years prior and everything. And then also Nick Bosa is saying that he's gotten to know Robert Saleh a little bit more going into OTAs. They went golfing and everything, so he's learned more about the person. So it'll be interesting to see Nick Bosa and Robert Saleh reunited. It's going to be great for the 49ers. I'm sure of it. And then Kittle's first day thoughts as well. Just a couple things that he said. He thought the vibes were immaculate, in quotes, on the first day of training camp. Kittle's all positive all the time, so he's going to say stuff like that. Then also regarding Jauan Jennings, the press asked him. He said, Jauan was awesome. Great energy, nothing different about the guy, he said. Doesn't even seem like he's in a contract dispute right now or wanting a contract or anything like that. So also great news to hear for the 49ers. Great news to see Jauan Jennings is himself, and he's just playing ball like he is, like the dog he is. And then the biggest difference, this is what one of the other what the other questions they asked him, what the biggest difference is in Brock Purdy, and he just said his vocalness. And obviously Purdy now going into year 4, he's paid. I mean, does he have a lot to prove still? I mean, I think the biggest thing is just a Super Bowl, but he said his vocalness is great, and now he's just commanding the pocket, the huddle a lot more now. And he said, in quote, "I want a quarterback who holds guys accountable." And so that's something that Brock Purdy's been doing a lot of, and something great to see, guys. So that's what Kittle said. These are the biggest takeaways from day 1 of training camp. Be sure to come back, stay tuned in. I'll be continuing making training camp breakdown videos of what I've heard, what I've seen so far. Your one-stop shop for the 49ers. Make sure to follow First and 49ers on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Follow me, subscribe on YouTube, leave comments. Let me know what you guys think is going on in training camp, what your biggest battles for the camp is looking like here. And that's it for today, guys. Go Niners and stay faithful, baby. I'll talk to you guys later.